Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/EntitledParents, where a 21-year-old female shares how her mom threatened to block her vote if she didn't register as a Republican. Coming up next is a story from disgruntled Boba. Mom threatened not to let me vote if I don't register as a Republican. 21 female here. You're probably wondering why I can't just drive myself. I, unfortunately, have migraines that make it a safety hazard for me to drive, and I'm working with a doctor to get them under control. So, my mom opened my mail a few months back and saw that I registered as a Democrat. In PA, they send out paper ID cards. She started harassing me at work and telling me that the Democrats destroyed the country. Typical mega rants. We let it die off, but a few days ago, she started on me again. She started screaming, crying, and pounding her fists on the table, telling me she won't drive me to vote unless I change my party. She then accused me of not caring about her suffering and called me a traitor. She said things were so much better under Trump when we could afford things, and if you love me, you'd vote Republican. I'm really upset right now because why does my mom think it's okay to interfere with my inalienable right to vote? I thought Republicans were all about their First Amendment, freedom of making up their own minds, etc. Being facetious, I know this only applies to people who agree with them. I'm just ROI exhausted from having to do mental gymnastics to do the most basic things. Lol, this ROI sucks. I'm not even too upset about her whole "you don't care about my suffering" thing because I literally grew up with her accusing me of not loving her if I asked to go hang out with my friends. I know how to navigate that, tired of it, but I manage. I'm more upset with her blatantly telling me she refuses to take me to vote unless I vote her way. The behavior described by OP's mom is concerning and controlling. It's unfortunate that she's using emotional manipulation and coercion to force her daughter to vote a certain way. This situation highlights the importance of respecting individual rights and autonomy, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as voting. It's unclear what could have prevented this situation, as it seems deeply rooted in the mother's beliefs and behavior. However, open communication and setting boundaries may help mitigate similar conflicts in the future. Coming up next is a story from Majestic Stand 6813. My mom took a picture of my ID card to prove a point to me. Now she wants me gone tomorrow for getting angry about it. My mom, 55 female, took a picture of my 22 female license ID when it was laying out to prove to me how quick someone could get my information. I only leave my personal things out when it's just us, since we both live together at the moment, cause I can't afford to live alone right now. When others come over, I put my personal things out of sight, so I don't understand why she decided to take a picture. The argument started when I heard Oops sent the wrong picture to a man she met online from Africa. She always finds men from Africa online instead of dating men in America who she can actually see like a normal human, but that's her business. I thought nothing of her oops until she came to show me a pic of my ID. I found that suspicious how she come to show me a pic of my ID after her accidental picture, and she told him to delete it and don't screenshot the picture. She said my ID wasn't the pic she sent, but why did she show me my ID afterwards, and told him to delete it and don't save it if it wasn't that serious? So after that I got angry NGL because she always accidentally posts things to her Facebook and send people pictures. I told her to delete my personal info out of her phone. Now she wants me gone by tomorrow and wants to shut my phone off. Ugh, this whole situation is just messy. Here's the thing, OP's mom seems way out of line. Taking a picture of your ID like that is a major privacy breach, especially considering she keeps accidentally sharing things online. It's completely understandable for OP to be angry. Who wouldn't be? The whole situation with the African gentleman online is a whole other can of worms, but prioritizing some random dude over your daughter's security is just not cool. Honestly, kicking OP out tomorrow seems like a massive overreaction. It sounds like OP was just trying to protect themselves from potential identity theft. Maybe things got heated in the argument, but hopefully they can both take a step back and cool down. Ideally, OP's mom would apologize for taking the picture and agree to delete it. Maybe even have a conversation about online safety and why what she did was risky. As for the living situation, forcing OP out immediately isn't a solution. They both need to find a way to communicate and work together until OP can move out on their own terms. Coming up next is a story from Deleted, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. My crazy Mormon dad texted this last night. If you want to ignore the gospel and teachings of Jesus Christ and the church and decide to keep buying a modest clothing and listening to music, and not reading your scriptures and praying, dating outside the church and acting like a typical worldly used-up whore and continue to live as if you're a clone of Satan, I don't want you in my home. I don't care where you go. I don't care if you live on the streets. I texted you that eviction notice. I don't want you in my life. I don't need you. You need me. You have chosen the world over the gospel, and you are not someone I want to interact with. You will not get anything from us when we pass. It will go to the church. You get your sorry but home now and throw these clothes away. You have several shorts that go above the knees. You have been raised better than this. You are 22, not 12. Act like it. Wow, that's a brutal message. This dad sounds like he's laying it on way too thick. Using those kinds of insults and threats to control someone's life choices is just awful. Honestly, it's hard to imagine this situation could have been totally prevented. The dad seems super focused on following the church's rules, and the daughter clearly wants to live her own life. That kind of clash is bound to cause friction. But still, there had to be a better way to handle this. Maybe a calmer conversation where they could listen to each other's perspectives. Even if they can't agree, at least they wouldn't be burning bridges. Kicking your own kid out for wanting to wear shorts and listen to music is just extreme. This daughter doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Hopefully she has other supportive people in her life who can help her through this. Coming up next is a story from Ulfer. You called CPS because a toddler was running around naked. I was visiting with a very good friend of mine this weekend after a mutual friend's birthday party. We'd all gone, but it wasn't really a place conducive to quiet enjoyment of a friend's company. There was lots of noise and lights and sugary birthday goodies that everyone partook in, including my friend's two sons. One of them isn't one yet and the other is balls deep into the terrible twos. The answer for everything is no, even when the answer was meant to be yes. It's hilarious, mostly because I can go home. My friend and his wife, they're tired, understandably so. So, we were sitting in front of the TV and minding the boys while my buddy's wife wanted some time not spent in the immediate vicinity of her offspring. Which, honestly, fair. She drove off in her car and went I know not where. And we divided the labor equally. My friend had the kid who couldn't walk yet, and they were curled up on the couch. I think the intent was for a quiet nap. I was stuck with the 2-year-old, and we had beef. At one point in the birthday party I was playing skee-ball at an arcade, and offered my last ball to the 2-year-old. He wound up like he was on a baseball mound, and I wound up having to go, no, and intervene. He has yet to forgive me for this transgression. So, my charge for a little bit decided watching Blue Eye was for suckers, and he was going in search of adventure, and I was following him around, because that's what you do when someone places the welfare of their child in your hands. The whole time, he's sulking and glaring at me every time he realizes I am still behind him. It was so hard not to laugh because it was so overblown and dramatic. So we're in the boys' room, and the kid I am watching is currently trying to cram his little body under his bed and shouting about wanting mama. Tough luck, kid. Mama's taking a break. You're stuck with me. And then there's a knock at the door. It's a caseworker from CPS and a police officer. I didn't realize this at the time, as I was trying to make sure the kid's head wouldn't actually get stuck under the bed. I'd never live it down. My buddy answers the door and is rather alarmed to see the pair waiting at the door. Then they came in and my buddy shouted for me to come back to the living room with the kid. So I scoop up my charge, and he starts squirming and squawking because he wanted to be under the bed, and clearly this is not under the bed. Matter of fact, this is the opposite. And he promptly shuts up, because strangers. Caseworker goes on to explain that they've gotten reports about toddlers being left outside in the snow with only a diaper on, being left naked to run around the house, bruises on the kids, etc., etc. For the uninitiated, most toddlers, they cannot stand wearing clothes. They want out of them immediately. Even the hint of a chance at ditching the clothing and they'll go for it. The cop looks around for a moment and says something to the CPS worker and then leaves. I sit with the 2-year-old, who is clothed by the way, and my buddy does all of the talking. I can tell he's furious, but I didn't really know why at the time. Caseworker wanders around the house a little bit, takes a look at both kids, then shrugs and says he can't see any evidence behind the report, but everyone has to be investigated. They'll be in touch, but it won't be a home visit unless new evidence or reports comes to light. After the caseworker leaves, my buddy hands me the not quite 1-year-old, takes out his phone, and goes into the basement, and promptly starts screaming at the top of his lungs into the phone. The 1-year-old just went back to napping, and the 2-year-old showed some survival instincts. He just looked at me and said, "Daddy mad," and watched TV with me and his brother. My friend's mother had some sort of mental illness flare up on her out of nowhere. I don't really know the details because it's not my business, but what little I did hear about was horrific enough. Evidently on Grandma's last visit, the 2-year-old managed to escape the clutches of bath time and wound up making a beeline straight out the open front door into the snow. He realized this was a poor life choice seconds after escaping, mostly from face planting into snow after tripping, and struggled not at all to be brought back in for bath time. Why was the door open? Grandma's new boyfriend was rather drunk and attempting to bring in a pile of Christmas gifts that were arriving in late January. He fell down the stairs when he tried opening the door, so they just propped the door open to allow easier offloading. In a nutshell, shit happens. Kids have minds of their own and do their own thing. He was never in any actual danger, just a 2-year-old doing 2-year-old things. The fact that Grandma twisted the event in such a fashion honestly confuses me, especially since the root cause of the kid getting out at all wasn't even my friend's fault. The really fucked up part about the report, though, the reason there was a cop there was because Grandma told CPS that her son was an alcoholic with a mean streak when he was drunk, and he kept a gun at the door. Her own son, though. Wow, what a roller coaster of events. It's incredible how a seemingly innocent situation can spiral into a full-blown CPS visit. The toddler's antics, though typical, ended up causing quite the stir. It's unfortunate that misunderstandings led to such drastic measures, especially considering the root cause wasn't even related to neglect or danger. Grandma's misrepresentation to CPS definitely complicated matters further. This story is a reminder of how quickly things can escalate, even in the most mundane of circumstances. Coming up next is a story from Mushroom Venom. My bio mom's husband offered to adopt me. I'm already adopted. I'm 18, non-binary. I don't remember the exact ages of my bio mom and her husband, but they are in their late 40s at least. I'll call them Claire and Daniel. Background. Claire had me and my brother while she was an addict and had a lot of untreated issues. I won't go into a lot of detail because it's very heavy, but long story short, she married a bad man, and because of his and her actions she lost custody of us when we were 5, and we eventually got adopted when we were 8. She divorced that man and now is married to Daniel. Story. Claire at the time had gotten diagnosed with a terminal illness, so I had agreed to fly out there to visit her. I had never gotten super close with Daniel, but we were relatively friendly. At first the visit was okay. Everyone was acting normal. But then things kind of started going downhill. Claire asked if I would consider moving out there for the time she had left, and I said I would consider it. She seemed to be happy with that answer at first, along with Daniel. But then it started going downhill. They started acting like I was definitely moving in and started trying to make all of these decisions before I had even decided, like wanting to go to the Social Security office to see if I still qualified for insurance, etc. It was hard for me to push back on it and set boundaries because I'm autistic and communication is hard, so I just kind of brushed it off. One night me and Claire were having a deep conversation and Daniel joined in, which led to him offering to adopt me. I explained that I was already adopted and that I did not want to be adopted again, and he seemed to drop the issue. Over the next few days, though, he started getting more authoritative, I guess. Whenever I talked about something, he would correct me, even if he was obviously wrong. It even got to the point when I was trying to bond with him and talk to him about my trans experience, he straight up said that I should try to be comfortable being a woman and that he didn't want me to get gender-affirming surgery, that I needed to fully experience being a woman before I decided. I deflected from the topic but felt very uncomfortable. When I flew home and told my mom everything, she texted Claire saying that she basically needed to take a chill pill, and that Daniel needed to stop inserting himself in our lives like he was a parent. Last thing I heard about the situation is that when my brother visited later, Daniel told him something basically to the effect that I was influenced easily and that's why I'm non-binary. I haven't talked to him since, besides saying hi when I'm on the phone with Claire. Ugh, that whole situation sounds like a mess. This Daniel character is a real piece of work. Here's a guy who clearly wasn't much of a father figure in the first place, trying to swoop in and control everything now. Not to mention completely dismissing your identity. Totally insensitive. As for preventing it, it's tough to say. Claire's illness obviously threw everything into chaos, but it sounds like Daniel might have always had these controlling tendencies. Maybe if you'd been more assertive from the beginning, setting those boundaries real clear, it could have helped. But honestly, with someone that pushy, it might not have mattered. The good news is you got out of there, and good on your mom for sticking up for you. You deserve to be around people who respect you for who you are. That wraps up our /EntitledParents. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel, link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.